Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 9th chapter, text number 44. Prayena deva munaya svamuktikama. Prayena deva munaya svamuktikama. Maunam charanti vijano naparartha nishtaha. Maunam charanti vijane naparartha nishtaha. Naitan vihaya krupanan vimukshusho eko. Vimumuksha, eka, okay. Naitan vihaya krupanan vimumuksha eko. Naitan vihaya krupanan vimumuksha eko. Nanyam tvadasya sharanam brahmato anupasye. Nanyam tvadasya sharanam brahmato anupasye. Prayena deva munaya svavimuktikama. Maunam charanti vijanena parartha nishtaha. Naitan vihaya krupanan vimumuksha eko. Nanyam tvadasya sharanam brahmato nupasye. Munaya svavimuktikama. Maunam charanti vijanena parartha nishtaha. Naitan vihaya krupanan vimumuksha eko. Nanyam tvadasya sharanam brahmato nupasye. Prayena deva munaya svavimuktikama. Maunam charanti vijanena parartha nishtaha. Naitan vihaya krupanan vimumuksha eko. Nanyam tvadasya sharanam brahmato nupasye. Prayena deva munaya svavimuktikama. Maunam charanti vijanena parartha nishtaha. Naitan vihaya krupanan vimumuksha eko. Nanyam tvadasya sharanam brahmato nupasye. Word to word translation. Prayena. Generally, in almost all cases, Deva, O my Lord, Munayaha, the great saintly persons. Swa, personal, own. Vimukti kamaha, ambitious for liberation from this material world. Maunam, silently. Charanti, they wander in places like the Himalayan forests where they have no touch with the activities of the materialists. Vijane, in solitary places. Na, not. Para artha nishtaha, interested in working for others by giving them the benefit of the Krishna consciousness movement, by enlightening them with Krishna consciousness. Na, not. Etan, these. Vihaya, leaving aside. Kripanan, fools and rascals engaged in materialistic activity who do not know the benefit of the human form of life. Vimumukshe, I desire to be liberated and to return home back to Godhead. Ekaha, alone. Na, not. Anyam, other. Tvat, but for you. Asya, of this. Sharanam, shelter. Brahmataha, of the living entity rotating and wandering throughout the material universes. Anupashye, do I see. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. My dear Lord Nrsimhadeva, I see that there are many saintly persons indeed, but they are interested only in their own deliverance. Not caring for the big cities and towns, they go to the Himalayas or to the forest to meditate with vows of silence, Mauna Vrata. They are not interested in delivering others. As for me, however, I do not wish to be liberated alone, leaving aside all these poor fools and rascals. I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. Therefore, I wish to bring them back to shelter at your lotus feet. Purport. This is the decision of the Vaishnava, the pure devotee of the Lord. For himself, he has no problems, even if he has to stay in this material world, because his only business is to remain in Krishna consciousness. The Krishna conscious person can go even to hell and still be happy. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj said, Naivod Vijay Paraduratyaya Vaitaranyaha. O best of the great personalities, I am not at all afraid of material existence. The pure devotee is never unhappy in any condition of life. This is confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam 6:17-28. Narayana paraha sarve na kutaschana bhibhyati swargopavarga narakeshu apitulyartha darshinaha. Devotees solely engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, never fear any condition of life. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and hellish planets are all the same. For such devotees are interested only in the service of the Lord. For a devotee, being situated in the heavenly planets and being in the hellish planets are equal. For a devotee lives neither in heaven nor in hell, but with Krishna in the spiritual world. The secret of success for the devotee is not understood by the karmis and gnanis. Karmis therefore try to be happy by material adjustments, and Gnanis want to be happy by becoming one with the Supreme. The devotees have no such interest. He is not interested in so called meditation in the Himalayas or the forest. Rather, his interest is in the busiest parts of the world where he teaches people Krishna consciousness. The Krishna consciousness movement was started for this purpose. We do not teach one to meditate in a secluded place just so that one may show that he has become very much advanced and may be proud of his so-called transcendental meditation. Although he engages in all sorts of foolish materialistic activity. A Vaishnava like Prahlad Maharaj is not interested in such a bluff of spiritual advancement. Rather, he is interested in enlightening people in Krishna consciousness because that is the only way for them to become happy. Prahlad Maharaj says clearly, Nanyam tvadasya sharanam brahmato nupashye. I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. One wanders within the universe life after life. But by the grace of a devotee, a servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one can get the clue to Krishna consciousness and then not only become happy in this world, but also return home back to Godhead. That is the real target in life. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement are not at all interested in so-called meditation in the Himalayas or the forest, where one will only make a show of meditation, nor are they interested in opening many schools for yoga and meditation in the cities. Rather, every member of the Krishna consciousness movement is interested in going door to door to try to convince people about the teachings of Bhagavad Gita as it is, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. That is the purpose of the Hare Krishna movement. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement must be fully convinced that without Krishna, one cannot be happy. Thus, the Krishna conscious person avoids all kind of pseudo-spiritualists, transcendentalists, meditators, monists, philosophers, and philanthropists. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yenam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Itinamine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. My dear Lord Narasimhadeva, I see that there are many saintly persons indeed, but they are interested only in their own deliverance. Not caring for the big cities and towns, they go to the Himalayas or the forest to meditate with vows of silence, Mauna Vrata. They are not interested in delivering others. As for me, however, I do not wish to be liberated alone, leaving aside all these poor fools and rascals. I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. Therefore, I wish to bring them back to shelter at your lotus feet. We see here Prahlad Maharaj is continuing his prayers to Lord Narasimhadeva. And we can see the mood of Prahlad Maharaj in these prayers. There is a very nice story that helps illustrate some of the key points in this verse and in the translation and purport. Once, Narada Muni was with Lord Krishna. And when he was there, he observed that Krishna was sitting, with his hand on his head. Just like we get a headache, we'll just keep like this, right? And so Narada Muni asked Krishna, "Oh Krishna, what is happening? How can I help?" So Narada Muni, when he asked, Krishna says, "Oh Narada, I have a splitting headache, and there is only one solution to this headache." Right? I think all of you know this story. Right? He says, "I need to get the dust of the lotus feet of my devotees, and I need to smear it on my forehead. Then this headache will go. So please go down to the earth and get the dust of the lotus feet of my devotees." Narada said, "Okay, Krishna, I'll follow your instructions." Right? So first Narada Muni decides to go to Varanasi. He says, "See, there are great Brahmanas over there who are very wonderful devotees of Lord Krishna. If I get the dust of their lotus feet, Krishna's headache will go." Right? And so Narada Muni goes to Varanasi, where he is very nicely received by these Brahmanas. They're very eager to see him. He says, "Please come, please come. We are so blessed to have your association. How can we be helpful?" And so Narada Muni at that time explains, "So see, Krishna is having headache, and so I've come to you for a medicine that will solve Krishna's headache." And these Brahmanas are very, very happy to getting this opportunity to serve the Lord. "Oh, Lord has headache. Oh, there are so many nice aushadhis we collect from the Himalayas, and we'll give anything. We have all these very wonderful medicines." And Narada Muni says, No, all these medicines won't work. Krishna has personally requested that I should get the dust of your lotus feet. And Krishna says that when he smears the dust on his head, all his headache will go away. Right? And these Brahmanas are shocked to hear this. He's saying, "Oh Narada Muni, what are you saying? If we give the dust of our feet, forget giving the dust of our feet. By mistake also, if our feet touch the Lord, forget touching his head. If our feet even touch the body of the Lord, we will go to hell and rot there forever." Now, we don't want to take this offense on us. Sorry, we cannot help you. Right? Narada Muni is a little disappointed. And then where does he go next? Huh? No. Before that he goes one more place. He goes to Dwaraka. He says, "Oh Dwaraka, there are 16,000 queens of the Lord who are always very eagerly looking to serve him. So let me go to these queens and ask, and so I'm sure, they are so eager to serve, they will 100% oblige and give me. And so Narada Muni goes to Dwaraka, where he is very, very grandly received by the Lord's queens, 16,000 queens. And then he explains his mission. He says, the Lord has a headache. I have come here for medicine for his headache. Very similar, the queens are so happy to get the opportunity. They say, oh, we can get medicine from any corner of this universe. See, we got all these devils and gold and everything. Whatever it is, we will give everything away and organize this medicine. So what medicine would you suggest? Narada Muni. So Narada Muni is saying here, not any medicine. Krishna has asked for the special medicine. But the queens of Dwaraka give a little different answer. Different from the answers of the Brahmanas. So what answer do they give? Anybody wants to take a turn? Anybody can say. Huh? We all know the story, I thought. Only Vrindavan and Varanasi part. Huh? Because he's my husband, we cannot give. No, actually, the queens say, we know that if we give the dust, we will go to hellish planets. We have no problem in that. We are ready to go anywhere, for serving the Lord. No problem at all. But if we go to the hell, see, we will lose the association of Krishna. See, Krishna won't come to hell. Krishna will come here in Dwaraka. We have the opportunity to personally, directly serve him. How can we give up this opportunity to directly serve the Lord? How can we? That is why we don't want to go to hell. It's not that we don't want to go to hell because we will suffer over there. We are ready to take any suffering for the Lord. Right? But we can do that only if we have that opportunity to serve him. That's a little bit different answer. And then Narada Muni goes to Vrindavan to ask the gopis. And the gopis' answer is completely different. Right? So what did the gopis say? You said that part of the answer. Right? And it doesn't matter where we go, as long as Krishna's headache is cured, we are very happy. Because the mood of the gopis is in the mood of serving the Lord in separation. Right? They're already separated from the Lord. The Lord has gone to Dwaraka. He's happily living with his 16,000 queens. And the gopis are sitting here pining for him. But in that mood of separation is the highest pleasure of remembering the Lord. That is the depth of the understanding of our Vaishnava Siddhanta. So in very similar lines, Prabhupada is quoting in the purport, 6th canto, 17th chapter, text number 28. Anybody remembers who said this? Narayana paras sarve na kutascha na bhibyati svargapa varga narakeshu apitulyartha darshinaha. Yamaraja? No, not Yamaraj. Second answer also is wrong. Who says this? Devotees solely engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, never fear any condition of life. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same. For such devotees are interested only in the service of the Lord. Huh? Prahlad Maharaj is all seventh canto. Huh? Ajamila. No, actually, this is Lord Shiva is replying to Parvati Devi in the Chitraketu story. So, actually, what has happened? Chitraketu has now become a Gandharva in this. It was Vidyadhara or Gandharva? One of them, one of the heavenly these things, and Gandharva, and he's going in his aeroplane along with all the associates, and they're doing wonderful kirtan. Right? They're doing kirtan vela in the plane, in a golden aeroplane, and they're singing and going. And they happen to pass over Kailash Parvat. And Chitraketu sees, Lord Shiva is sitting in the assembly of all the saintly persons, and he's preaching to them, and on his lap, Parvati Devi is sitting. So Chitraketu, looks at that, and actually he laughs, not in a derogatory way. He laughs saying, "Oh, how wonderful is Lord Shiva! That, he's having Parvati Devi on his lap, and that doesn't affect him at all. He's in the mood of preaching, and he's here. He's the such a powerful person in this universe. He doesn't even have a house. He's sitting in Kailasha Parvat under a tree, right? With all these, munis are sitting over there. All these munis, they've given up everything in this world, only engaged in service of the Lord, that too in renunciation. And they are sitting here and seeing Lord Shiva and Parvati, sitting on his lap. So when he laughs at that, Parvati Devi notices it. And but she actually misunderstands Chitraketu in this case. But she feels the urge to, correct somebody who looks like he's sarcastically laughing at such a great personality as Lord Shiva. Right? Because if he was really sarcastically laughing, that there cannot be any more offense than an offense to such a pure devotee as Lord Shiva. So she curses him to say, "You're so proud of your position, and you're so puffed up, flying in an aeroplane, with all your, associates, that you are not recognizing what a great personality Lord Shiva is. So I curse you to take a form that is befitting your consciousness. Your consciousness is that of a demoniac person. So I curse you to become a demon." Right? Now Chitraketu at that time, what does he do? Yeah, very, humbly accepts the thing and says, he calls her, "Oh mother. Oh mother, I will follow your instructions." Because you see, Chitraketu is really looking at Parvati Devi. She is the mother of the universe. And if she is, cursing him in the presence of Lord Shiva, it can only be that, the Lord desires this to happen. And when the Lord desires something to happen, doesn't matter what it is, I will accept it nicely as my, that's the Lord's wish. So there, he is telling, he is very happily accepting it, and Parvati Devi is surprised. She's saying, "I have cursed so many people in my life for their misdeeds, but everybody was like afraid and shivering and falling at my feet and saying, 'Please forgive me, please do this, please do that.' This is the first time that I've cursed somebody and they're saying, 'Oh mother, thank you, I will follow your instructions happily.'" And she's asking Lord Shiva, "How is this? How do I understand this?" And then Lord Shiva says, See, this is the wonderful nature of the devotees of the Lord. They don't care where they are, never fear any condition of life. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same. For such devotees are interested only in the service of the Lord. So, just like we talked about the 3 different levels of the mood of the Varanasi Varamanas, the queens in Dwaraka, and the gopis. Right? There is a different level of evolution of the love for the Lord. Right? Mood. Let's say the mood is a better word to use. It's not that the queens of Dwarka are really lesser than the gopis of Vrindavan. But in a true sense of their love and distinct for the Lord, there is a difference. So, Prabhupada is talking about how, in the mood of Prahlad Maharaj, how we should emulate this mood of wanting to liberate other living entities in this world, and how that should help us become an impetus for our own spiritual life. Right? Now, the one end of the spectrum is what Prahlad Maharaj is telling here, that there are many spiritualists in this world who say, oh, this world is full of craziness. Why should I be subjected to this in cities like this? People are having such, they're all engaged, engrossed in sense gratification, and engaged in so many sinful activities that are detrimental, that are killing the soul, literally killing the soul. And so they're not at all interested to be in the cities and this thing, and they want to go away to the Himalayas. Right? They're saying, okay, I want to practice Maunarata. I don't want to be engaged anything in this material, in this world. See, that is also one form of spiritual practice. Right? In fact, in different yugas, this is the process. What is the process this process that is being described here? Which yuga it is for? Satya Yuga. And what is the process for Satya Yuga? Right? Ashtanga Yoga, meditation. They go away to the forest, right? And they choose a place that is not too high, not too low, right? In a particular this thing, and they sit there and they meditate. Right? Now, that is a very gradual means of purification. When we try to imitate that in Kali Yuga, Prabhupada is very clearly explaining in the purport. He is telling, for most of these people, this is just a show. Right? You can go, say, oh, there's too much Maya here. For a man, a woman is Maya. For a woman, man is Maya. These children are Maya. This world is a Maya. I want to give up everything. I want to go to the forest and live in a cave in the Himalayas. So there's no distraction at all. Right? See, unless the heart is purified, unless that an Atma has reached a certain level of evolution where they're able to practice these kind of things, this Kali Yuga especially, it just becomes a show of spiritual life. Our desires are not changed. We are externally taking out some stimulus. But as soon as we are exposed to the same stimulus, everything will come out again. Right? So this process of being away from these kind of things is not a permanent solution. The permanent solution is the heart has to be purified. Heart will get purified by practicing Ashtanga Yoga, but it's a very slow, very gradual process of evolution that in Kali Yuga is impossible to practice. Anybody who says that, they may go to the forest, okay, they may stay there, let's even say they stay for a year or two. They come back over here, they see all kinds of objects of senses, then they'll be attracted. Because the internal purification has not happened. Now, the next level is the level the Prabhupada is telling that what is recommended for devotees like us. Many places Prabhupada used to say, was once all the GBC men were assembled in Mayapur. Right? This used to regularly happen from 72 onwards. Prabhupada used to call all his GBC men a few weeks before the Gaur Purnima festival. So all the GBC men would go first, and then a few days later, all the devotees would come from all over the world, and they would have a festival for Gaur Purnima in Mayapur, and then the devotees would go to Vrindavan, and then that would be like their vacation. Right? It was a very practice, the nice practice devotees used to do. So all the GBC men were assembled for the GBC meeting. Prabhupada looked at each one of them and then he said, "Are you convinced that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead?" What do you think they answered? Huh? Yes. They were all like, when Prabhupada is asking a question like that, you should get the clue that there is some depth to that question. And so they all kept silent. Because really speaking, are we really convinced Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God? Maybe theoretically. Right? If you're truly convinced, our mood will be completely different. Our actions will be different. We wouldn't be attracted to anything in this material world. We may have faith in our spiritual master's words, we may have faith in the Shastras, and we are trying to build that faith and develop that faith, but we are really not, suddenly we're not fully convinced. If we are fully convinced, our actions will be different. So Prabhupada was telling, if you don't become convinced that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, you can't convince others. So very similarly, Prahlad Maharaj is telling here, I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. We have to become convinced of this fact. See, we all have different levels of conviction in this fact. The fact that we are sitting here on a Saturday morning, spending time try to listen to Bhagavatam and try to practice this in our lives is an indicator that we have some conviction that this is the only thing that will make us happy. But, we have to become 100% convinced in this. And what is the best way of becoming convinced in something? Prabhupada used to many times say this. What is the best way of trying to become convinced in something? Try practice it and then hear again and again. These are all definitely things. And what else? Faith. That's how you build the faith, by hearing again and again, practicing. How do you really deepen that conviction? Looking at the conviction of others. Yeah, you can take inspiration. There's something else that will increase the conviction even more. Preach that conviction to others. When you try to preach, what happens is, because we have to preach means, not that, that's why Prabhupada said, you don't have to wait to the point when you become liberated, then you go preach. Whatever level because the Shastras are saying that this is true, go and preach to others. Then what happens, when you try to preach, doesn't this happen? I have personally experienced this. When I have to give a class, or when I have to preach to somebody, and you have to study that even more. You have to say, what exactly is being said over here? What does it mean for me? How do I preach? How do I convince others? And then you preach. Then suddenly you see, when you're preaching, your own conviction increases. And they'll ask a question, or somebody will ask this thing. Then you try to explain to them. Then you start getting some realizations. Right? So our mood of the reason why we have to go door to door and preach is because to build our own conviction that we cannot be happy without Krishna consciousness. This is an indelible fact, unalienable fact that we cannot be happy. We can try whatever you want to try in this world. Invariably, it will only lead to suffering in this world. When we add Krishna into our lives, when we do everything by adding Krishna consciousness, then we see that we can actually try to make the best use of the bad bargain. Sometimes people think, we also go through problems, we also have some material diseases, we also have this problem, that problem, children problem, so many things we have, our own problem, work problem, so many. They say, what is this? How is our life different from others? See, this is a very difficult thing. Sometimes, at least I have doubts. I don't know about others. And I try to preach to myself, like, okay, why are we doing this? How this thing? Because you see, because the factors are so many, there is no easy apples to apples comparison. There is no anybody done a little research or something, right? Kavita Madhu used to do research, right? How do you do research when you're comparing two things? There is a control subject and there is a research at this thing. Control subject means you control the different things, make sure that no other influences is there. And then other group, this particular thing you put, then you can very easily compare, right? And say, what is the effect of this particular thing you give? But different people's lives are so different. So karma is different, prarabdha karma is different, kala is different, this is different, that is different. If you try to understand that, okay, I am doing this is helping me, there's no logical way to explain this. Very difficult. But when we practice in our own lives and you are able to introspect and see, we see that I am a better person today than I was yesterday. I am making some progress in my evolution of consciousness. That can only mean that this is having effect on me. That I should understand and I should continue to do this, I should preach. And the more you preach to others, your own conviction increases in this matter. But then, the highest level of this is, as you keep doing this, our consciousness increases. Then, when you become a pure devotee, pure consciousness, Prahlad Maharaj is telling over here, they are preaching not because preaching will help me become a better devotee, but they are preaching out of compassion, pure, genuine compassion for the suffering of other living entities in this world. Right? Many times we hear about Prabhupada. See, Prabhupada didn't have to give up his wonderful residence in Vrindavan, in the Radha Damodar temple. Prabhupada used to say that is the center of the universe. Right? Many times when he was in America, he used to reminisce and say, oh, I miss Vrindavan so much. I miss my stay in Radha Damodar temple. So Prabhupada could have just stayed back here, right? But he was doing it out of genuine compassion for the suffering of the living entities in this world. So we should aspire for that consciousness as well. That is the highest consciousness. But at least for now, in our current level of consciousness, for many of us, this should be inspiring. The more we preach, the better we will become in our own Krishna consciousness. So we should take every opportunity that we get to do that. And then we'll see that we'll get the mercy of the Lord, mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to become great devotees ourselves. So we'll stop here. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Anybody has any quick questions or comments? We'll take one question. I'm not sure if the deities may or may not be ready. Anybody is one question. Yeah. So actually, the gopis, they were so absorbed in the separation of the Lord, right? They are really not in a preaching mood. There is nobody to preach there who is not Krishna conscious. Because everybody they meet, everybody is Krishna conscious, right? Now, with the same gopis, the same manjaris, there is Shastras, there's so much description of how they come down as acharyas, right, to preach, right? We keep hearing, oh, this acharya was this manjari who came down to this world to preach. So, just like the Lord, comes down as a combination of the Lord and Radharani, comes down as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to preach. Radharani's different associates also have that intense desire to give Krishna consciousness to everybody. And so they come down, as different acharyas, and you see in their lives that they have only one desire, to liberate as many living entities as possible in this world. And that's why we see here, in the we are so fortunate to be born in Kali Yuga. In that one Kali Yuga, in one full Mahayuga, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes. Right? It's not that every Kali Yuga Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes. Right? And so, it is said that in one Mahayuga only once Krishna comes. And only once Krishna comes, then next time Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes. And so, we are so fortunate to be in that situation to take advantage of this. And we should imbibe the mood of the gopis, of the acharyas. And this example is given here. We should go door to door and preach. That's what Nityananda Prabhu did and Haridas Thakur. Right? They used to go door to door and preach Krishna consciousness. So we should take this opportunity and do that ourselves. We'll stop here. Grantrat Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki, Bol Premanande.